advantage, then solvency, then the counterplan, politics, and then what?
Counterplan, healthcare, then Iraq, the states.
You girls good?
Yeah, I'm good.
At the top, we have the largest impact in this round. First is magnitude. Our impact is the largest possible because nations with the largest nuclear weapons arsenals are also nations who are completely dependent on fossil fuels and the status quo. The United States, China, and Russia conflict would consume the entire globe in nuclear fallout, resulting in complete planetary extinction. Second is time frame. Our internal links are predicated on perception of declining oil reserves. Once demand outpaces supply, policymakers will have an economic incentive to wage war and attempt to avoid inevitable economic collapse. Three is probability. There are examples of resource conflicts happening in the status quo as a result of dwindling deserves. Russia's only viable export is oil. The United States is willing to invade other countries such as the Middle East to access petroleum nations, and the status quo are acting violently to secure reserves. Ensuring probability. Go to the line by line. Their first argument is that there would be resource reserves, but this is, first of all, this is irrelevant because we still have a separate impact which is conceded, and the 1NC, our 1AC share evidence describes that the United States can invade militarily and violently into any country it deems unnecessary in the world in which we are dependent on fossil fuels because we need to desperately increase our reserves. That means even if resource wars won't happen, we have a separate impact that they've conceded. Additionally, resource wars are inevitable and highly probable because shrinking reserves force policymakers to actually have an economic incentive to find a resource to power their economy, which is currently powered on oil, which is running out in the status quo. Additionally, next, you can group the entirety of the peak debate. First is that we still access our impacts even if they win this argument, even if the peak is not coming right now. Oil is a resource that will inevitably run out. This means that resource wars are inevitable even if they aren't occurring right now. Two is that the peak is coming now, increasing demand in developing countries and Saudi Arabia shrinking reserves prove that the peak will come soon. Three is prefer our evidence, our lead evidence from the 1AC indicates there's a consensus in the scientific and geological community as to the fact that all of the large oil reserves in the status quo have run out and soon will reach a peak. Additionally, no substantial new discoveries. This is Duncan, who's the director of the Institute on Energy, and man who has a PhD in engineering from the University of Washington in 2003. There's a scant chance of finding more than a few dozen substantial accumulations. 60% of the world's oil is in a few giant fields. It is impossible to add substantial oil reserves. We discover only 10 billion each year. Last year, we produced 26 billion. There are 56 countries where production is currently in decline. Additionally, vote affirmative on probability and time frame. Even if vast possible supplies of oil exist, there's no certainty that we'll find them. And even if we find them, it'll take at least 10 years to get them online. This is Elfin, a visiting assistant professor of literature at the University of Miami in 2008. Vast unproven supplies can compensate for shortfalls. Probable supplies are even less matter certain than proven ones. Even if the world's untapped resources are as large as some observers claim, there is no guarantee that they will be found. Overall consumption has outpaced the which oil has been discovered since the 1980s. Solvency. Their first argument is that solar is too expensive, but solar can be cost competitive with little help from the federal government. All of their evidence is assumption of the status quo, but the massive incentivization of the affirmative plan would necessarily make it more competitive in the market. This is Leiter, a consultant in R&D consulting, and he has a PhD in superconductor physics in 2002. Energy and solar panel plants can be marketed to green energy technology which already exist in many parts of the countries and are very popular. Development of solar power to peers will be a required mandate percentage of the green portfolio or renewable energy standard. Additionally, solar power will be cost competitive without incentivization by 2015. This proves how the plan would propel it over the edge. This is Plum, who's a writer for the Washington Business Journal in 2008. The United States could generate 10% of its electricity through solar sources in 2025. Cost competitive solar power is now planning on the horizon of every utility in the nation. The price of declining capital fuel costs for coal, natural gas, and nuclear plants rise. The United States will reach a crossover by the year 2015. Additionally, next, they say the plan results in dumping, but one is no link. Solar companies are currently using polluting technology. Their argument is descriptive of how this is already happening in the status quo. This means this will happen regardless of the plan. The second argument is a link turn. Incentivizing solar energy as a result of a plan will actually promote less polluting forms of solar technology to arise and become marketable, meaning that we can actually trade off with violent polluting that is happening on in the status quo. Things like nanosolar will become more popular, more marketable, meaning that we can trade off. The third argument is no link. These companies that their evidence is describing are in China. We don't incentivize Chinese solar technology. This is completely irrelevant. Their next argument is that solar takes too much land, but solar dish collectors utilize land better than conventional power plants. This is Leiter, who has a PhD in superconductor physics in 2002. Sterling systems produce more energy per acre than power tower plants. For the purpose of comparing land requirements for solar power conventional plants, we use typical performance values in order to estimate the energy production. We use engineered data and hourly annual solar radiation data from Las Vegas. Additionally, solar uses less land than coal, and you can get the same yield from a piece of land year after year. The slip out in 2008, the Nevada One solar gives us 400 acres from years of heat energy to give us 5,300 acres of coal-fired power plants producing the same amount of electricity the 400-acre Nevada Solar One produces. Over 1,000 kilowatts per year, the pencils out. For every square year, 4 years, the coal plant produces the electricity per square year in a single year, and then you need to consume a single square foot in the next year. The counterplan. Permutation due to the plan and the counterplan. Additionally, 50 states, V is voting issue. A is our ambition. Then again, 50 counterplans that only involve single actors. B is it's anti-educational. No policymakers in the position to motivate all 50 states to action. Utopian fiat kills critical thinking. Gives us the negative. To have absurd counterplans like end racism that prevent the affirmative from guarding offense. C is that it's unpredictable. The affirmative will never be able to predict the infinite random combination of actors. Predictability is best in link with fairness and education. D is the counterplan would not be enforced. Interstate tax are unconstitutional. Bast at all. In 2003, interstate tax may be attractive means of moving to greenhouse gas emissions for most legal scholars believe they are unconstitutional and hence not enforceable. Additionally, the states don't solve, they result in investor confusion, conflicting regulations, and Sandra Wexler, who is a partner at Goodwin Procter LLP in 2009. Slow federal action has fueled fierce interstate competition. States compete with varying regulations and standards as well as varying incentives for solar. High impact programs vary widely, breeding confusion in the investment market. There's been a massive race to the bottom, driving down standards, resulting in a hodgepodge of incentives. Individual states have to compensate for business, choosing to tolerate higher emissions, and worse than lower states' incentivizations are by zip code basis. Politics. Alternative energy is happening now. Stimulus package. This is the Guardian. In 119, there's top priority. Stimulus package includes $20 billion in clean energy tax credits, a goal of doubling renewable energy portfolios in the next few years. Usually no healthcare reform until 2010. This is Bloomberg. In 2008, the slower economy is likely to push a big ticket issue until 2010. According to Manager Energy Congressional Aids, an overhaul of healthcare policy is likely to occur. The amount of uninsured is likely to occur not. In 2009, the trend solar energy is bipartisan support because it's more cost effective. This is the HSTP press release in 2008. The time for solar energy now we were told a bipartisan congressional hitting on solar energy different compared solar energy to the amount of industry in the space program. 500 members of Congress heard testimonies from 6 experts who spoke about solar technology. Usually, solar serves as an economic fix in both the short term and the long term. This is also known in 2008. The American Southwest best resource in the world for green technology has billions of invested dollars. Austrian thermal technology targets stable as the factories expand operation and new investment in technology will create thousands of good-paying jobs and keep our outdoors pristine for future generations. Usually, the oil will destroy the global economy. Roberts in 2004, oil is financing on a new oil, so each year's declining price for consumers would shift to other fuels. Those supplies would tighten up, their prices would rise. A segment of the global economy would ultimately tip into a depressing economic demand and throwing the entire economy into a dirty depression. Even after the seeds, oil will peak. Go to the Iraq break. Oil prices have already collapsed in the status quo. This is AFP in 2009. Crude oil prices did Wednesday indicated that acceleration of U.S. demand reported a steep result in Detroit as the hurricane large number of economies battling real estate prices. People would price will be violent given economic uncertainty. Oil prices have already fallen heavily to the record levels amid a cooling economy. Additionally, transition does not result in higher prices do not result in killing alternative energy because they're forcing to move to non-conventional petroleum sources. This is the Gazette. In 2008, rising forward prices scarcely triggered a flash forward non-conventional petroleum sources like oil and gas shales that can be harmful to the environment. Additionally, a weak dollar guarantees high prices. This is Boylan, chief economist and head researcher at the Job Law Investment in 2008. Demand and supply fundamentals have supported the broader in recent years because of the movement to the investors using oil as a hedge against the falling value of the dollar. Additionally, OPEC concedes that it will not be able to fill supply gaps. This is Hirsch, who's a senior energy advisor for Management Information Solutions. In 2005, OPEC assured the world that oil supplies would continue to be dependable, but that position is changing. OPEC warned that oil supplies would be not adequate to satisfy world demand. A whole new Saudi Arabia will be found and developed every couple of years. Additionally, that's fine. I'm open for questions.
Okay.